now. The
All right.
captain.
All right. So thank you. In terms of, I believe that there's no such thing. I mean, that there is, in fact, true that there's like environmental harm to. There's definitely environmental harm, but I believe that these multinational companies do have a corporate social responsibilities, which they create guidelines for each companies to follow, and like the way they damage the environment, they also have to take notes of that. I believe that because they have that kind of consideration, they have to make sure they not to cross the line. And you have already mentioned the last point, which is about quickly relocated. Here's the problem though. What happened afterwards is that people of that specific location will talk out. They will speak up. They will use, because we live in a technological world, news get spread faster, which means that those companies' images will be tainted. They will be destroyed. And you also, the points about like the plastic straws and how plastic straws and such, those are also used against you, as that's also like how people are now way more awake than before. They now take actions into preventing those from happening. So those companies, we already mentioned, so those companies will have to follow the guideline, and because of that, they have to make sure that they guarantee that they will not destroy the environment that much. I would say that for the other introductions, so despite you mentioning those big names, there are still other names that are take actions into protecting the environment. For instance, like Zara, Adidas, or Nike, they follow people's what they want, what people want, what the community want, and they simply remove the uses of like plastic bags and replace it with reusable bags. They start to remove like plastic packaging just for like with like better products. So with those, I believe that because we now live in such an open world with quickly spread informations, the type of damage that these companies leave behind people just cannot leave there. People will talk about it day after day, and some people will consider, turning down the product completely and stop supporting it. That's something that would ruin that's something that will turn off customers. So consider this. Consider they have the guidelines to follow. They have the guidelines to follow. They have people's customers that are like the people that using their products. They will not go out of their way to just continue destroying the environment just because the trade-off will not be equal. They cannot just constantly sacrificing every customers just for the sake of money. And sure, there are. I mean, yeah. So there are. So it's not like just for the sake of money. And there will certainly be some companies out there that are willing to change. There, we need to. And I just so this environmental problem. I would say there are also other kind of companies are willing to do this. Motorcycle brands are also into this kind of like change. I believe that despite leaving this sort of like damage, but I also believe that thanks to social networking sites, and people are now way more aware. They're not blind sheep. They're not blind sheep. We are not blind sheep. We are awake. We're awake. We can make our own decisions. So if these companies continue to doing this sort of environmental destructions, we can simply turn their products down and we stop supporting them, because now we live in a world that, simply put, way more open than before. People are now willing to accept different informations. At the same time, they also want to, now companies like production lines, they're on the news everywhere. So I don't think that they can just simply just turn a blind eye against the news, no matter the amount of money they pay to cover it up. So that's my point.
Thank you. Thank you, the captain of the Phoenix. What an convincing voice that you gave. And now is the turn for the other side. Unify. Are you ready? So now is your 4 minutes. Start now. Unify. What's something?
Okay. So at first, I want to say about the second person that she said that multinational companies bring jobs, but I think it's not always the case. Multinational companies are capable of causing several unemployment in the host country. It is because they are so good at what they do that they can pose a threat to domestic businesses. When domestic firms are unable to compete on equal terms, they may end up with laying off redundant workers or even having to shut down the businesses in the worst case scenario. For example, V-Smart, a brand of smartphone from Vingroup, it cannot compete with other big firms of smartphone companies that already exist for a long time in Vietnam, like Apple or Samsung. And in that case, they have to shut the V-Smart down and focus more on other brand of the firm. So I think that in some case, the multinational companies may bring harm to the host country, and they may make several unemployment in the host country. And also in the case of the environment, we have Formosa is a company that had caused a really bad impact on the environment of Vietnam. So I think the policy is not enough when the host country not have a strong policy to make sure that the company is not damage the environment. So like Formosa Holding Steel, a steel plant by the Taiwanese corporation from Formosa Plastic, discharged toxic industrial waste illegally into the ocean through drain pipes. The Vietnam unit of Formosa Plastic were held responsible for the mass feed dust, as the government's inspection found the company has discharged waste containing phenol into the sea. And this is a really common case in other countries. The big firms, they just care about the revenue and also the money, and they do not care about the environment and also the benefits of the people and the environment of the host country. So I think that cooperation companies has bring many bad impact that have
Wrap up your ideas.
Okay, so that's all about our presentation.
Thank you. And that is the end of the third turn. And now we will move on to the final turn of the second debate. And I want to mention again to teams that we are not allowed to use any questions in this turn. Are you clear? And this turn will start with the negative team.
Has the timer started yet?
Not really.
Okay.
So can I ask the technical department to review the clock? The technical department, please. reveal the clock of the final term. For the okay, here we go. Okay, now your 2 minutes start now. Sorry.
What? Okay, Elka. So, I thought that we're gonna do the negative rounds first, not coming to the final, the conclusion like this.
Yeah, negative theme first. So no. Look at the time. Look at the time. Okay.
So allow me to introduce myself. So it's kind of rude to say that I spend my whole time to try to do some very boring statistics that proves that the multinationals are actually exploiting the labor's rights and the humans' rights. And these are more convincing than what you guys literally said. And will I state them out? Well, in the deepest hell, I will not. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that I need a more convincing, visible, and more, imaginable statistics that support the fact that you're accusing the MNCs. Well, why the apparent democratic influence? Well, there's been acclamations that these so-called MNC, or should I say multinational, actually involves in the making of the host country policies, especially economics policies, of course. The further investment into these does not only ensure the business to bloom and flourish, but also has a viable impact on the overall economic policies the host countries holds, enable them to legally construct a very reliable, stable policies. Besides that, the multinational also acts as connector, or I should say, promoter. The policy does not strictly apply to the host country only, but one to another in a conceivable way that would likely benefit each perspective and respective countries in return, of course. Though this can be certain of one fact that the multinationals actually lift a finger to the dire situation that many countries are facing with the host of violations illegally violates the human rights and labor rights. Once again, and we can come with the we can come to the conclusion that the MNCs are actually helping the host country out by improving their policies. Yes, and I can see that the time has run out, but I still have more to say, but I think...
No, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
that's unlucky.
Okay, is the time for the affirmative theme?
Yes, okay.
Your 2 minutes start now.
Okay, so you asked for some visible evidence, right? We have given a lot of visible, and they have actually happened. Like the examples in China and in America. How many companies have made and are making horrible things to host nations? You're saying the good things that national companies can give to the host nations. Actually, those are their responsibility. They have gained a lot of benefits from the host countries, and it is their duty to make up for their the good things that they have received. They get the workforce, they get a great market, and etc. So it's nothing to them, trust me, to pay the taxes or maybe just make some campaigns to increase the acknowledgement of people. And as I've said, labor exploitation, you cannot deny that it is happening right now, especially when you try to ask as many people who are working for international companies as possible. They will tell you that how much pressure they are dealing with right now. another thing is that we have to face higher pollution and environmental damage. Why? Because it's not their mother country. They don't care. Like Formosa, like Vietnam, in 2016, Formosa have made the whole center of Vietnam have to put up with a environment disaster. And last but not least, they exploit national resources. Why? Like I said, it's not their mother nation. They can do whatever they want, bring them money and the profits home to build their own nation. That's the problem. Okay, so I think we have talked enough. We have proved it.
Thank you, Greenie 5. And now we move on to the Q&A sessions with our judges. And I see the hand from Ms. Ling, our judge here. So what's your questions for the two teams?
Okay, guys. So yeah, kudos on the great work. And
I want to remind that you only have one question, so 18. Okay.
One question?
Yeah.
All right. All right. I just want to say that congratulate 4 teams that have finished your debating, and I would say that it is well organized station with efficient time allocated. And so my question is for the Greenie 5, right? So it's quite a sensitive question, but what do you think that the fact that the MNCs come to the host countries, exploit the labor force and create environmental hazards and legal and political overwhelming, is it a modern and subtle way or like a tactics of colonization? Yeah. So what do you think about that? That is my question for you, for your team.
Okay, so this question, yeah, as you said, it's a bit confidential, especially to like our nation. We have been through a lot of wars in the past. At some point, I think yes, they do bring like new knowledge. They do bring not totally, not like too much, but yes, to some aspect, they bring a new lifestyle. They try to make us think like them. They try to make us think that, wow, working from 9 to 5 and 6 days per week is normal. Working for big nations, international nations, is our honor. We have to feel proud when we work for them. While we're just basically selling our workforce, and they're just buying it. And another thing is that, from my perspective, like multinational companies, they always show a little bit of arrogant. It's like compared to national company, and that affects to their workers too. Like people bragging about how they're doing good in a multinational company, but actually maybe the salary is the same, the working experience is the same. It's just the title that makes the difference. But I don't think they can totally make a huge difference on our society or on our culture. So it's not like as horrible as colonization.
Okay, thanks for your answer. I don't want to give a question to the Phoenix, but yeah, as Ming-Hill had said, I just have one question, right?
You only have one question for each team. Each team.
Each team, right? Oh, right.
Yeah,
wait. So, okay, the Phoenix.
So you have one more question.
Mm-hmm. So I also have a question that for the team, the Phoenix, that I urge you to look at the flip side of the problem. Like when the company come to the new countries, right? They find it profitable. Whether the multinationals hurt their workers at home, they are multinations by moving jobs overseas. Yeah, that is my question for you.
And I suppose that the judge, Ms. Ling, really want to hear the questions right now. I want to hear the answers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for the questions. Can our team have? So, how many minutes and seconds do we have to answer the questions? Oh, apparently.
Cho mình hỏi là cái lượt thứ tư của mình đã được hoàn thành chưa?
Yes, finish.
Lượt
Okay.
phản hồi á, lượt thứ tư mình chưa có á.
We have a problem actually. We are not ready for this. So apparently my teammates lost about a bunch of minutes when he's talking. It was supposed to be 4 minutes, but it was like gone, reduced to atoms. And then also my turn was well, but the end is gone too. So we lose one turn and another 2 minutes, I believe, or maybe a minute. Just give us a minute.
Khang, I appreciate the
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I think we just have to go with the flow now, and we have to answer the question from the judge, please.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So
I think you can add more, like when you answer me, you can add more to your points on the debate. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. But can we still have like a minute to think? All right. Thank you. 1 minute. 1 minute to think. 1 minute to think. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah. So,
but actually, I see your teammate raise his hand, right? I know.
he raised his hand to talk about the problems. Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So for the questions you've asked is about that, how kind of like people are willing to move, to like relocate. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat the questions again?
Okay. All right. Okay. My question is, when you look at the flip side of the problem, and whether the multinationals companies hurt workers at home, they are mother nation by moving jobs overseas.
Okay. All right. So apparently, I have. So I think that this is what happens when, if you look on the bright side, I would say that because how kind of like how people, like I would say in Vietnam, they kind of lack the job. Kind of like they lack the job and they lack the kind of they lack what they have. So basically, they lack the skills. So. In order to, so I think that this is a situations in which happens a lot. Is the fact that if you think about it, the reason why they have to move to a different countries, they have to work, is because they don't find any opportunities in Vietnam. So this could have two kind of like arguments where themselves have to improve to adapt. To adapt into this new culture, into this new developing world, or they could choose, which is the multinational corporation, and thanks to MC Multinational Corporation, they now have more opportunities to work there. I mean, maybe the opponent team might mentioning the part about how they're being overworked, they're being stressed. But I also believe that they have to follow a specific guidelines that to prevent this sort of happening. And I already mentioned the point about how thanks to social medias, we can now definitely make this as an issue and canceling out these sort of companies to stop supporting them. So every companies will try their best to kind of provide the best. So I know that the point about like they don't care about the nothing compared to like they use labor exploitation or maybe workforce is cheap. But I also believe that because we're making these kind of issues, the multinational corporations have to take this as like a warning. So they have to prevent this and to stop this and make everything balanced out. So the more we talk about this, the better we can prevent this from happening. So that's the answer.
Thank you, the Phoenix.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, to ensure the fairness, the Phoenix, you have one more turn to the reply speech. So your 2 minutes start now.
Okay, so as I said before, when we said about the democratic influences of the MNCs, or should I term it multinationals, they actually involved in the making of the host country's policies, as I said before, and especially economic policies, of course. And the judge also asked about the questions that do the workers have to relocate their places to adapt to the requirements coming from the multinationals. Well, actually, the policies, some of the policies also covers these kinds of questions and obstructions that they encounters on the way to integrate, globalize, and to work in the multinationals facilities. And okay, so one claims can comes without an evidence. To describe this, I would gladly to mention the cooperations of multinationals come from both Vietnam and Korea. Well, undoubtedly speaking, many legal codes been made and policies such as the VKFTA, in terms you can describe it in the large terms, such as the Vietnam-Korea Free Trade Agreement, has strengthened the bonds between the two countries and further influences the flows of the legal trades market. And did I mention that Korea is also responsible for the abundant amount of funds in Vietnam? Yep, that is also a thing. And to add in that the affirmative teams already say before that they only concentrate on the drawbacks of it, the abundant amount of work, the overwork of workloads, and I can say that the policies make up for those holes. Yes.
You finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Thank you.
You can say that I'm finished.
There are some errors with the time and the turns, but the Phoenix, you guys did really well. Thank you. And after a heated debate between the two teams, affirmative team and may I invite Mr. Michael Mo? Do you have any ideas?
Was that? Another question.
Yeah.
Are we still doing that, or are we gonna wrap up? Okay. So the first question I had was for Greenie 5. What is your take on, rather than making it the multinational's responsibility to protect the host country, what is your take on the government actually, it being the government's role to protect its own country and impose strict regulations to protect their interests?
Okay, so thank you for your question. To this question, I suppose there are some things that we could do and our governments can do to protect our nation from multinational companies. You know, to governments, they have a huge responsibility in this, because obviously they are the government and they have to be able to control the flow of all the companies, both inside or outside our nation, which I think they should have they have some strict laws to be sure that there is no abusion, or maybe there is no crime can be happen, like even disposing waste into the environment. I believe it is some sort of crime, and it is a very serious crime because it against the whole environment, the whole area. And to everyone, I think we should raise the awareness of people, like, please don't be too crazy to believe in everything the multinational companies said, just like I've said in the first part. And I think we should also pay attention more to multinational companies, so that whenever an incident happen, like bad incidents, we can use the strength of the public, of the press, to make sure that they will make up for their mistakes. They will fix them. They will spend money or anything to make up for it. Yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question for Phoenix would be, what is your take on multinational companies? I'm using an example, Apple, right? Apple uses a lot of their production through Foxconn. And so by using a third party, they shield themselves from potential issues. So what is your take on that arrangement?
Thank you. Thank you. The question from the judge. So I think that because apples have this kind of like, so you mentioned about apples having this third party, which is a loophole. I think that because you mentioned about this point, meaning that you already know about how that this problem exists, and there are definitely which means that there's a lot of people already covering it, people talking about it. So I would say that there are a lot of people. There's a lot of there has to be corporations out there working to avoid this kind of problems, and I believe that we kind of look at exploitations as two-phase, where exploitations happens when they find a loophole and they want to exploit it. So we can always. So because of this, I believe that people or companies or corporations will have to find a way to fix it and to change it and enable in order to avoid this loophole from happening again. So I would say that in terms of this company, in terms of Apple abusing the system, is a sense that we could, in the sense that people could and people already covering it, and a lot of people already know about it. So they will cover. So they have to find. So I don't think that it will be it might not be solved immediately, but there are people on their way to figuring out in order to stop this from happening again, the exploitation to happen again. So that's my answer.
Thank you, teams. Great job.
Thank you, judges, and the Phoenix and Reedy 5. And after a heated debate between Team Reedy 5 and the Phoenix, the part 3 has finally ended. It's time for judges to give their verdict